Hello, this is Jason Huffenberger. I'm one of the owners at Preview Construction. We work primarily in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about James Hardie's pre-painted statement collection product versus the James Hardie pre-primed products available in our market. I'm specifically going to be talking about these products in a residential replacement application. And again, in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, because that's where I've got 20 years of experience. There might be some pros and cons to each product or each product line in different markets, but I'm only aware these are some of the challenges that I face in the Dallas, Texas market. So the first thing we're going to talk about is color options. And I will mention in the color, the idea of color with James Hardie is that both the pre-primed and the pre-painted product both have a 15-year finish warranty. And so whether you paint it on site or whether you purchase the pre-painted or manufactured pre-painted statement collection product, they both have 15-year finish warranties. So the first thing that we run into with the pre-painted product is that James Hardie offers 15 colors. So from the palette that I just showed you. So if you can't find a color that you like within those 15 colors, then you need to install pre-primed, and then we paint on site. With a pre-primed product, you simply we use Sherwin-Williams. So you simply go select Sherwin-Williams. We use Super Paint, and then we paint the whole home. All the installed material with the Sherwin-Williams Super Paint. The other issue that you might run into when selecting pre-painted versus pre-primed is that not all of the products that are in the statement collection or the pre-painted collection are available in all 15 colors. And what I mean by that is that specifically the soffit and the trim used in residential replacement, not all 15 colors are available. In fact, only 5 colors are available out of the 15. So if you want your whole home or your whole reside, your whole remodel project to be one color, but you picked a color that's not available in soffit and trim, you'll have to go to pre-primed product, and then we can paint it on site, whether it's that James Hardie color, which we can color match through Sherwin-Williams, or just picking a whole new color out of the multitude of colors that Sherwin-Williams offers for their exterior paint. The next thing we run into is really expectation. And when I meet with customers and we start discussing pre-painted versus pre-primed, a lot of times we'll talk about finish expectation. And what I mean by that is that if you take a pre-painted, pre-manufactured, baked-on finished product and you finish that product in a warehouse setting, manufacturing facility setting, you have to pallet that material that's already finished. Once that material is palleted, then you have to load it onto a truck. Then that truck has to be unloaded onto a job. Then it has to be unloaded by our people on the job site. And the product has to be moved by hand to the location where it's going to be installed. Then that material has to be picked up again, put on a sawhorse. It has to be cut, picked up again, moved to the wall where it gets nailed to the wall. And through all of that movement, there's a lot of contact points. If it's 100 degrees outside, like it often is here in the summer times in Texas, people's hands get oily and sweaty and can leave marks on the finished board. The nail guns just slightly put off a little bit of oil every time that they shoot a nail through a product. And so sometimes that oil can project onto the boards. We do our best to try to clean these things off, but when you're dealing with colors like Arctic white or cobblestone that are very light, it's very hard to keep some of those imperfections from showing through. So I try to set people's expectation and let them know that it looks a little different than when you install a pre-primed product. You have the installer come in, install all their materials. You have the painter come in after him. He caulks everything to the wall, and then applies a nice fresh coat of paint over the top. The finish is just a little bit different, in my opinion. The other thing that you have to think about with the pre-painted product is that James Hardie supplies a touch-up kit with all of these with these jobs. And so when we do a pre-painted install and we shoot a nail through a board or a trim nail through a piece of trim, we're expected to touch up each one of those with a little bit of James Hardie color match touch-up paint. And what can end up happening over a year's time or so, especially here in Texas with the heat and the sun, is that those touch-up kits can fade a little differently than the actual baked-on finish of the board. And so you can get some spots in some areas where we've done some touch-ups. Again, just something to think about when using the pre-painted product. The last thing we'll talk about is that pre-painted is less maintenance, right? So when two boards come together, they only are sold in 12-foot lengths. So if you have a 20-foot wall, you're going to have two boards, two pieces of siding that actually come together and form what they call a butt joint. With pre-painted product, there's no sealant that's placed on that butt joint. James Hardie asks for moderate contact, but actually a piece of flashing behind that joint, but no sealant on top of that joint. And so when you get in a long wall with a lot of those joints, the joints become very pronounced by design through the pre-painted product. With the primed product, we actually go in and seal all of those joints. So all the butt joints, corner joints, window trim, just anything that any joint that is on the home after installation gets filled with a paintable sealant. And then the painter comes in on top of that and applies the fresh coat of paint, making everything look a little bit more seamless in a pre-primed product. Now, I will say that the drawback to all of that sealant is the maintenance, right? So when you caulk a butt joint, eventually that caulk is going to shrink and crack, and so then that becomes a maintenance issue for the customer, which can be a downside for the pre-primed product. The final point is product size and selection offering. So with the pre-painted statement collection specifically, so with James Hardie's statement collection, they only offer the product in certain sizes. So if I get into a replace remodel situation where I've got some rather large 20-inch or 24-inch soffits, where I've got some trim between windows that's 10 inches wide, well, I won't be able to get those products in pre-painted statement collection. The only soffit that's available through James Hardie's statement collection is 16-inch soffit. So if I get anything larger than that, I'm going to have to get kind of creative with some other products. If I get less than 16 inches, if I get 12 inches or less, well, the 12-inch soffit's not available. So then someone ends up paying for 16-inch vented soffit or non-vented soffit and having to cut it down to fit those smaller sizes, which can drive cost. The other thing that we talk about is the finish or the product selection on the pre-painted. They only offer cedar mill or the wood grain finish. So if somebody is trying to update the look of their home and they want to do more of a modern farmhouse, or they want to do some smooth textures on their house versus everything looking rustic and wood, it just isn't available in James Hardie's statement collection. And therefore you have to move over into the pre-primed product. So the benefit of pre-primed here is that all of the products that James Hardie manufactures are available in the pre-primed product. So there is no limit to what you can do with the pre-primed in a replace and remodel situation. So that's all I've got. I hope it helps and helps you inform a decision on which way to go with pre-painted or pre-primed. Both products are great. I've done a lot of each one of these products, and I've had happy customers on both sides. In my personal opinion, there really is a product that fits the remodel situation. And so when I come up to a home and I start to talk to a customer about a replacement situation, it's pretty easy for me up front to identify whether first the products that are offered and pre-painted will actually fit on their home. And then it's easy for the customer to decide, well, is there a color that I like? So once we get past these challenges, we can move forward and begin the contract and install process. Once again, this is Jason with Preview Construction.